So you've got a new RFP on your desk or a new need that you need to contract. One person says, we need to run a full RFP for this. Another person says, well, isn't there a cooperative contract that we can purchase this through? Legal wants to see competition and completion of the process and to ensure compliance, but your team wants to see breathing room. So in this case, what should you do? In this video, I'll walk you through a very simple way to choose which contracting option's right for you. We're gonna look at the real RFP lifecycle, what's already built into NASPO contracts, and a decision framework that you can reuse on every single need. Hi everyone, my name is Jason Ellinger and I'm from Taika Translation. For over 15 years, we've helped schools, public agencies, federal, state, local, education entities, you name it, put together contracts that work for them. We've responded to all types of RFPs at the local and state level, delivered on standalone prime contracts, and now we're also a supplier under the Cooperative NASPO contract that's working to set up purchasing addendums with every state in the United States. And that's the NASPO ValuePoint Master Agreement program that they broadcast and work through enhancing the use of every single year. Now, I've seen the world from both sides. I used to be in the United States Air Force and look through the contracting lens from the user standpoint. And I've also seen it from the side of a vendor being evaluated in submission for a certain type of contract. And I've seen how exhausting it is for so many procurement teams to try to work through and figure out what contracting vehicle, what money is available, what color of money is available for what thing to be able to purchase that in time, because everybody's stretched thin with all the requirements, all of the compliance issues, all the RFPs or contracted situations that they find themselves in, and all the different types of services or products that need to be bought or sold using the correct type of vehicle to make sure that the mission continues to go forwards and everything is in compliance. So this episode's for you if you work in procurement, contracts, or program management, or if you're starting to work on a new need for your entity, and if you're asking, do we really need to run the full RFP on this, or can we safely leverage a cooperative contract that already exists that we already have committed to utilizing? First, in this video, I just want to highlight something that's super important. This video is for general education purposes only and does not constitute legal advice for your specific entity. Every state and every procurement office has laws, rules, and internal guidelines. And so you must consult with your internal legal team after you understand the content of this video to be able to further understand the workings inside your state, inside your entity. All right, so the reality that we all face is that RFPs are super valuable and they're very powerful, but they're very, very heavy. Let's start with an honest look at the RFP path. A formal RFP is one of the most powerful contracting tools in the United States government. It can invite broad competition, it can be tailored precisely to meet the needs of that procurement requirement, and it can stand up to heavy scrutiny or auditing of the purchasing of that specific type of need or resource. But it's also very heavy. When somebody says, hey, let's just use a full RFP for this thing, it also means that they're saying we're gonna add many weeks or even months to the process of the procurement of this item. And they're gonna say, let's accept a higher level of risk and risk of delays for the entire process, the question and answer sessions, the risk of someone submitting a grievance against how the process was done, and possibly the rebidding of the exact same thing, stretching this out to 6 and even I've seen as much as 12 to 14 months. And so it makes all of the vendors and all of the staff invest an insurmountable amount of time into the process of sourcing this need. And at Taika Translations, because we've been in this space for a long time, working with you all, we feel you. It's tough. Now, that doesn't mean the RFP process is bad. It just means we should understand the full life cycle before choosing that path. Here's a simple overview of the full RFP lifecycle: planning and requirements. You got to get all the stakeholders in a room and interview all of them to find out what exactly this department or this team needs for the purchasing vehicle that you have to set up for purchasing the resource they need. Then we do a complete department needs assessment or entire state needs assessment. We have to draft a scope, find an expert that can, or somebody inside the organization that understands the purchasing of this specific thing. Maybe that person already left and went to another station. Maybe you have to find somebody in the marketplace to help out with this, like a consultant, like Taika Translations. And now you're gonna have to figure out how you're going to evaluate. What evaluation criteria will you use? Do you have somebody on station or in your back pocket in the marketplace who can help you make sure that you evaluate these correctly and get the right contractor for the job? Then there's the internal alignment aspect with the program staff, the legal department, finance, compliance, IT, and even leadership. All that has to be aligned in order to make this RFP work. Now, the next step is how we decide what we want and how we'll measure it. Drafting the RFP and getting the approvals. So now you have to draft the RFP. Some of this drafting, it takes up to 200 pages to get everything put into the contract the way it's supposed to be. From anything from legal to insurance to disciplinary actions to payment to specifications around the resource being purchased and everything in between. That includes all the terms and conditions, instructions, the scoring system, and any other specific explanations that cause that contract to be more clear. After all of this done, we have to get the internal reviews for approval. That means legal, risk assessments, leadership, maybe governing boards that have to look over this thing to be able to approve it. And if you've got people on your team that are very scrutinous, they want to make sure that every dot and tittle of this thing is done exactly as it's supposed to be, so that this procurement goes out in a very professional manner. The problem is this takes time, and lots of time. Before anything even gets posted, all of this happens in the background. It takes weeks to get all of this done, and it's tough, and it's frustrating because this person goes on leave, that person goes on leave, you had this halfway through, but it's not only this RFP that you're working on, you've got 12 other ones that you're trying to process through the system, and it's really tough to get everything moved forwards smoothly. And when you have people asking for needs all the time, now we're having to make ad hoc purchases at higher rates, at non-contracted prices, just to keep things moving. And it gets really frustrating because nobody understands, well, what is the status on this RFP? Or how long is it going to take us to be able to process this? Or leadership saying, hey, all of this team is purchasing this stuff at a higher price and we need this RFP done now. And you're like, well, I'm trying to get it done, but our legal advisor is out for the past 2 weeks and they're only coming back from some type of leave after being gone for multiple weeks, and everybody's barking at everybody, and it's a challenge to get these things pushed through. And it's frustrating, and it takes, again, a lot of time. After all of this happens, which is basically a miracle, if you can actually get all of this done in a quarter, then we actually go to advertisement and engagement of contractors. Now that means publishing the RFP on the correct platforms, soliciting for and answering all the vendors' questions, issuing all the addendas, issuing the replies to those questions, possibly and typically postponing the bid submission dates because we can't get all the answers to all of the questions because somebody submitted them late again. And now we have to answer more questions later than we thought. And all of these things push back the timeline for the purchase of this requirement. And all the while, that need in the department is either not being fulfilled or being purchased at a much higher rate than it needs to be because there's no contract set up for it. Or so you thought. The calendar clock just keeps ticking and ticking and ticking. Well, after you've done all of this, which is basically a miracle to accomplish because you have 12 of these on your plate, and you've actually got all the responses back from the vendors on time, hopefully. There's an evaluation. So, receiving the proposals by the deadline. Did everybody submit their stuff by the deadline? No, somebody didn't submit it by the deadline, but they still want to be participating. And they're going to submit a grievance if they can't participate because something wasn't clear or their question wasn't answered. Then you screen all of the submissions for compliance. Then you have the technical scoring by all the different committees in the organization. Then you have the price evaluation at the very end of all of this for those vendors who made it to the very end of the evaluation. And then you may even have to have oral presentations that have to be scheduled with the vendors to demonstrate their capabilities and produce the confidence required to select someone for the opportunity. Coordinating all of these activities with all of the team is one of the most time-consuming parts of the process. We've already talked about how much time it takes to start it, get through it, create the scoring, advertise and evaluate the vendors, receive all of the stuff back, answer all the vendors' questions, have those oral interviews, and now we finally get to award and negotiation. This stuff takes months and months. Now they have to select somebody who meets their technical requirements and is the best value and is in the best interest of the government. We can negotiate the final terms, draft the signing of the final contract, and we start to communicate the award. And this is the moment when somebody or multiple vendors submit a protest. And at that point, they submit the protest or the appeal, and this can significantly, if not indefinitely, delay or cause the complete redo of the RFP. After all of this, if you actually make it through the RFP cycle, we go to implementation. And implementation is where we onboard the vendor, train internal users on how to utilize them, and set up ordering processes and all the reporting required for that workflow. And only now do you actually start to get the legitimate service or product that you submitted the RFP for in the first place. Again, RFPs can be absolutely necessary, but they are not free. They're a huge investment of time and energy for both the contracting and procurement teams and the vendors themselves. Now, Let's shift our focus to cooperative contracts at this juncture, because this is where they shine. And that's where NASPO ValuePoint comes in and adds so much value. What's already done for you. All of that stuff that we just talked about in the entire RFP lifecycle is done for you in NASPO ValuePoint Cooperative Contracting. Now let's look at what's already built into the process for you when you actually choose to use a NASPO ValuePoint Cooperative Contract instead of issuing a single RFP. Under the NASPO lead state model, one state leads the charge in administration of a full-blown RFP process and competitively bid process for the exact service required for your organization. They grab a multi-state sourcing team and bring them together as experts in the field on procurement of this specific item or service that you need, and they write the bid together. This results in a master agreement that has a clear scope, public sector terms and conditions, a pricing framework that works and is easily understandable, and defines roles and participating entities and vendors. In other words, the heavy planning, drafting, advertising, Q&A, evaluation, and protest risks have all been dealt with on your behalf by this cooperative purchasing entity. The work is documented and fully auditable by a compliance team, legal team, or anyone who's doing the risk assessment. When your state signs a participating addendum, which is what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, NASPO ValuePoint Master Contracting programs are going throughout the United States working to sign as many of the participating addendums with as many states as possible to give them the benefit of this RFP process that has been performed on their behalf, removing all the heavy lifting from the process and removing the risk of choosing a vendor that might fail. And some people think when you're signing a PA that you're actually skipping the competitive bidding part, and you're absolutely not. In fact, you're getting a higher quality bidding process that's performed by specific experts in the field who know exactly how the purchasing of this service or product is most effectively being done, and they're coming together to work on a contract that they can create to broadcast through the greater market and for the good of the entire country. And when you latch onto the cooperative contract, you're leveraging work that has already been done by a public procurement team, not only by a single state, but by a multi-state team of experts. So at this point, your job as a public procurement officer becomes much, much easier. All you have to do at this point is understand the master agreement that was created for the purchase of this product or service or set of products and services that you require. Understand your specific state's purchasing addendum, maybe additions or additional rules and guidelines, because they are tailorable for every single state. And then at that point, it's simple because you simply manage how it's implemented and overseen in your jurisdiction. Which brings us to the main question. Do I use an RFP or do I use a cooperative contract? Here's the practical framework that you can reuse. Before you default to, I'm not really sure, so let's just do a full RFP. It's gonna be tough, and it's going to take a lot of our time, but I don't know all the details of this, so let's just do full RFP. Ask yourself these three questions. Question number one, are there needs or there similar needs covered by existing cooperative contracts that you have current access to? Basically, you're answering the question, is there a NASPO co-op portfolio that clearly aligns with a need that you have? And inside of that, the question is, do we have a PA or purchasing addendum signed with NASPO regarding purchasing of this need? And furthermore, is our entity under that purchasing agreement eligible to purchase through this PA? These aren't hard, but they are small specific items that have to be answered within this question. The second question you want to ask is this: if it's not exact match, then is there a NASPO or similar portfolio that meets 80 to 90% of the need that I have on my desk right now? Does the scope cover the majority of what you need? Are the service levels and pricing models broadly applicable to your need? And are the vendors in that contracting vehicle that's already set up, ready to be utilized, are they able to serve your jurisdiction with the volume, or your geographical area in that matter, with the volume that you require? If the answer is yes to either one of these questions, you might be able to use the co-op contract as your base contract, add some local terms and clarifications, maybe some terms or other guidelines through your ongoing PA that you have with the state, and still avoid doing an end-to-end full-on RFP. Now, the third question you need to ask is this: are our requirements extremely unique or local? There are cases when cooperative contracting is simply not the right tool. And this is a situation where you need a very bespoke solution where no real portfolio out there covers. There's a specific situation in your specific locale where this need is only required. You have some statutory requirements maybe within your state that are very specific and they have to be addressed in the processing and purchasing of this item or contracting need, and maybe your risk profile or technology stack is so unique that a generic scope won't work and won't cover it. In those situations, a fresh RFP is most likely the most appropriate and defensible option to choose. And that means if there's no contract that fits the requirement that you have in any way, shape, or form, and it is a truly unique item that you need to purchase, run the RFP. Now, if there is a cooperative contract that aligns with your need and your state can participate, then strongly consider leveraging the cooperative contract first. You can even document this in an internal checklist to demonstrate your due diligence on every major procurement for the organization. All right, so at this point, we've heard this side, we've heard that side. Let's walk into putting this into practice. Here's a simple example. Your agency needs translating and interpreting needs across multiple departments. Option A, we run a full RFP. We go through the entire life cycle that I just described, months of work, risk of protest. You get a contract that works, but your team is already exhausted by this point. And option B, use a NASPO contract that already exists for your language service contract. You confirm that there is a NASPO contract for remote interpreting and translating needs. You see that your state does have a participating addendum, and oftentimes agencies and school districts within the state are eligible to use that purchasing addendum. You talk with one or two vendors on the contract to confirm the award and portfolio, and your work is now only in clarifying your internal needs, making sure you're aligned with stakeholders, creating simple guidelines on how to use the contract or how to order the service within your organization, and managing any performance issues. You didn't skip the competition, but you leveraged the competition that's already happened and already documented. That's the power of having these type of tools in your toolbox. Use RFPs when you have a very specific individualistic need or local need that's not covered under any other type of contract, but use cooperative contracts when you've got an 80 to 90% match on your need and you can find the solutions you need with far less friction. Because oftentimes, once you start to engage with the contractors who work on those NASPO ValuePoint contracts, they can expand their reach to fully meet the need that you have. All right, so now let's recap in one slide. A full RFP lifecycle includes planning, drafting, advertising, Q&A, risk assessments, risk of protest, and implementation. It's powerful, but very, very heavy. NASPO cooperative contracts are already competitively bid, fulfilling all of those requirements that I just mentioned. The work is done for you using the standards of a lead state model, and the lead state model bringing all the experts in from different states to make sure that this contract is solid, compliant, and will pass any audit or evaluation. When your state signs a purchasing addendum, they are leveraging the competitive process, not skipping it. The simple framework is this: are there similar needs already covered by the cooperative contract that exists right now? Second, is there a NASPO or similar contract that meets 80 to 90% of the needs that I have on my desk right now? And third, are the requirements that I have genuinely unique to my specific location or contracting requirement? Or are they constrained by any specific laws that are local to me? RFPs aren't the enemy, and co-ops, they are not a shortcut. They're simply different tools, and strong procurement teams know which ones to use at which time. If this helped in any way in your contract procurement administration, please hit like so that more contracting and procurement folks can see this content. As well, please subscribe for more episodes on purchasing under RFPs or cooperative contract, and information on NASPO contracting and practical playbook for language accessibility requirements and procurement. In the comments section below, tell me, what is one category that you still prefer a full-on RFP for? And what is one more context where the co-op contract worked really, really well? That feedback not only shapes the future content that we put out, it also helps vendors like us understand where you are drawing the line. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.